Hey guys, T-Bolov here, and today I wanted to give you guys a look at the new Tier 10 Soviet tech tree battleship, the Kremlin. By the time I get this up, this should be out because by my recording time, it is just now 11 o'clock, which is noon server time here on NA, and so these should be out. So we're not going to get real deep into the statistics on the ship. I'll show them to you, obviously, but they're in game. You can go look at them if you want to see what they are eliteed, because you haven't gotten that far yet on the line yourself. They are on the wiki, which I will link below. I'll try to get better about doing that in the future, since I am the one that updates the wiki. I should be promoting that as well, but I'm new at this. So anyways, Kremlin. So I know that a lot of people were really, really excited about this ship because of how strong it is on PC. And I would like to remind those people that there's not always a direct translation between a ship's abilities and effectiveness on PC when it gets translated into Blitz, despite the fact that, they're versions of the same game. They are very, very different at their core. And so, you can be excited, but, set your expectations accordingly, because in my experience, ships that are really good on PC don't always end up being all that great here on Blitz. So keep that in mind, please. Again, the boats are going to be out by the time I get this video up. So I'm going to show you how I built mine, kind of go over why I built it in case you guys are wondering what the thought process is. At least gives you some point of reference to start with when you're equipping and setting the ship up for yourself. And I know everybody's going to ask, do you like it? And I guess I'll get it out of the way now. I don't dislike it. The ship is absolutely worth grinding for. It is not at all, let me say it one more time, it is not at all worth spending a big old mountain of free XP to jump straight to tier 10 just to get yourself a Kremlin. Please, for the love of God, there are so many better things you could be doing with a mountain of free XP that you've been saving for Kremlin. Okay, I'm not saying it's not worth grinding. I'm not saying it's a bad boat, but unlike many of the recent line releases that we've gotten here on Blitz, the tech tree lines, the tier 10 in this case is not ridiculously OP. Venezia was stupidly OP and it got nerfed. Daring is stupidly OP and is probably going to get nerfed here in the next update, would be my guess. No official confirmation one way or the other, not that I'd be allowed to tell you, but we have not heard that Daring is getting nerfed. Daring is going to be nerfed. Can't talk today. That's just my gut feeling. So, Kremlin is not bad, but it definitely has some shortcomings, and we'll talk about those a little bit later. So, let's run over some stats real quick. I'll show you how I built it when I played it, and then we'll look at some gameplay, because I know that's what everybody wants to see anyway. So, well, first off, so Kremlin, I think, if I remember right, starting with tier 6 in this line, does get the extra damage control, kind of like they gave to Lenin as its gimmick. So you do get 4 damage control kits. I don't think I really ever had a chance to use all 4, but it doesn't hurt to have them. And knowing that you have an extra one may affect how you build your captain. I didn't take that into consideration. I kind of forgot and didn't really think about it. But it may affect how you build your captain skills. So it's got a pretty good hit pool, 63,525 when you're eliteed. You're going to need them because the fire and flooding resistance and the damage reduction and the torpedo damage reduction are not great. Those numbers don't really change from tier 8, just a little bit, which is disappointing. 28.06 knots with a sluggish acceleration, kind of to be expected from a ship this size. 457 millimeter main guns and 3 triple turrets, so you get the same number of main guns as Yamato, basically the same caliber, 460 versus 457. The reload time is a little long, 24.5 seconds. To be honest, I didn't notice the extra reload time. I know there's going to be a lot of you who want to take reloading into slot 1 to drop that by 5%. It'll get you a little over a second better reload time. Like I talked about in my previous video about it, I don't think it's worth it. I don't see the value in it. That's just me. Main battery AP damage, it was about 30-ish damage less than Yamato, so it's in that same neighborhood. Secondaries, you get 8 double turrets, and rather than 4 and 4, let me show you this real quick, you get 2 up front, you get 2 in the back, and then there's 2 per side. So not your broadside for secondaries isn't 4, it's actually 6 for 12 guns, which is kind of nice. But you do lose the auto secondaries that Sinop at tier 7 and Vladivostok at tier 8 got, that were kind of nice and really helped with the brawling meta that these things are supposed to fit into. Sovietsky Soyuz and Kremlin at 9 and 10 lose them, which is a little disappointing, but it is what it is. Anti-aircraft numbers are pretty solid here on Kremlin. With them, I felt like I should be shooting down more planes, given the amount of focus that I received in the games I played in this thing before. So I was a little underwhelmed by the airplane kills, given that the damage is actually pretty decent, but I don't know, maybe it was just me. For elite bonuses, I did. Let's just get this out of the way. I did not take meritorious service, and I really don't recommend it on any ship ever. So let me just say that up front. I did put it on here so it didn't mess with the numbers when we looked at them. But between the other two options, this will take your fire and flooding resistance to 23%. That extra 3% is nice, but it's still kind of underwhelming. I ran Elite Gun Operator. As many of you know, I like my guns moving and reloading as quick as possible, and if this is going to benefit that, then I'm going to take it. So I did run Elite Gun Operator, and I do believe it is the better of the two choices, especially for my playstyle. So your mileage may vary. Historical Camo actually looks pretty good. Kind of Mikhail Kutuzov-ish. Hit points, main battery firing range, main battery shell dispersion, and torpedo damage reduction. Okay, so you do get an extra 6%. I was wondering about that for those of you who saw my Kremlin versus Shimmy video yesterday. That was the only torpedo damage reduction buff that that I had applied yesterday in that video, and I did survive almost full health starting a full 15 torpedoes from a Shimikaze. So yeah, so that's good to know. So even though the torpedo damage reduction isn't great on this thing, the health pool is large enough if you've got almost all of it that you would survive that. So this is a ship that I definitely recommend spending for the historical camo, because you're going to need the main battery shell dispersion. Hey, look at that! The Red Fleet's mightiest have arrived. Told you. For equipment, those of you who know me know that I don't like running dispersion. I don't think it's generally the best use of a slot. Battleships are kind of the exception, and this is more than any needs it. So I definitely recommend dispersion in slot 1. I just don't see the value here, but I don't know, some people do. Slot 2, I did take acceleration because the acceleration's pretty slow, and then steering in slot 3. Considering how big it is, it does turn pretty well. I don't think it's the best, but it turns pretty well. Captain build. So I did run Kuznetsov, and I think even if I didn't have him, I would probably still run mostly the same. So I pulled him off of Vladivostok and threw him on here, and I didn't change anything. So he's set up exactly as I had him on Vladivostok. And seeing this now, I guess I should have paid better attention before, but I would probably take Demolition Expert over Close Quarters Combat Expert, just because, I mean, the extra secondary shell dispersion, come on, talk, man, is nice. Given that it buffed the autos and the manuals, it was definitely worth it on Vladivostok. You could go either way. I probably would take Demolition Expert, but an argument could be made for this, especially because the secondaries aren't too bad. Otherwise, that's pretty much the same, and if it wasn't Kuznetsov, it was just a regular captain, I would probably take this over the Artillery Maintenance Expert. This one, though, getting the, especially when you've got the beginning of the match, when you got most of your health, that extra 4% to your dispersion is nice. Given that you have 4 damage control kits, cutting 10% off your cooldown time gives you a higher chance of being able to use all 4 of them. So, argument could be made there, and without Kuznetsov, I would probably take that one. That's just me. So, anyways, that's pretty much how I ran here. I think that's it. So, all right, let's run into some gameplay, and we'll talk some more about how the boat did and what I feel its shortcomings were, and we'll go from there. So, let's jump over into some games. All right, so for our first battle here, we've got Cage. Sorry, it took me a minute. I always get Cage and Golden Channel confused. I have to take a second look at the map to try to remember which is which. Before we really get into the meat of this one, please don't be that Venezia. He started off by saying, "Spread out," and then proceeded to not just flank up the side of the cap, but if you notice him throughout the battle, he flanks hard. Now, in his defense, he did have a relatively decent game, but that's only because the red team pretty much went the other way. And he got some really good shots into the back of a Smolensk, that one right there, that kind of just sat there and let him do it. But, you know, all the while he's trying to direct the battle from the far flank, and the only thing that kept him from getting absolutely wrecked is that the red team all pretty much lemming towards the left side of the map. So, don't be that guy. And then, other than that, you know, what I kind of wanted to show you guys in these videos is especially the dispersion. You know, you can see at the bottom there when precise aim is running and when it is not. Bear in mind that I am running dispersion in slot 1, and the historical camo gives a buff to that as well. So, you know, I'm doing what I can to improve the dispersion on the Kremlin, you know, right from the get-go. None of the battles I'm going to show you guys are huge monster games. I would probably have more of those if I camped in the back and just sniped. That's not my playstyle. I don't like playing that way. As a result, my damage suffers sometimes for it, along with my survival rate. But that's just not me. So you won't find me at the back of the map. You will find me in the cap, usually. So, yeah, so that's where you know where to find me if you're ever looking for me. So, you know, so in this, you know, we've got one Citadel. I think we hit the Yamato earlier. Either the Yamato or the Montana, I can't remember, but we got one Citadel. That was a pretty good salvo with precise aim running. That was 7 out of 9, and looked like most of them were full pens, right around 2,000 damage against the Alzus there. So that wasn't too bad of a salvo. You know, but it was kind of that middle range too. It wasn't out at max range. You know, and so the dispersion is definitely better when you're in a little bit closer. The kicker is that, and you'll see this throughout, I've got 3 games total for you guys, but Kremlin's got a big health pool, and it needs it. It does take damage a lot for some reason, so there wasn't really anything else to show in that one other than a couple of destroyers running around. I don't think I did much else that game, so we cut that one a little bit short, save some time on the video. So here we are again, and once again, I'm heading for the cap. Kind of in a side and separate from this, but pay attention to that Smolensk, and don't drive your Smolensk like he does. Not trying to call the guy out or anything, but you know, we try to learn whenever we can from whatever sources are available to us. Yeah, and the Smolensk does not have a great game. It's a very powerful boat. It's really strong offensively with that rate of fire and 16 shells and whatnot. But it, yeah, this isn't anything that the Kremlin does that any other battleship can't. So you know, I'm not saying that. Oh, look what the Kremlin does. You know, that was 5 out of 9. That wasn't a great salvo, but I did get a Citadel and 4 full pens. So allowing my buddy Arsonist there to pick up the kill. So a little bit again on positioning while we're here. You know, I knew that the Seattle was pushing that direction around the island, and I was tempted to throw it in reverse and keep backing up to clear to get a shot, but realizing that he wasn't going to last long enough for me to do that, I decided instead to push back forward and try to get myself into position to do something better. And in typical noob fashion, I blew the crap out of that island. One actually did get through, and that was a half pen on a Montana. So I don't know exactly where it hit, obviously, but that was a little underwhelming. So quick shout out to, like I said, Arsonist and Monster Man, a couple of buddies of mine from Argonne. Especially to Monster Man for driving the curve first and doing his level best to tank for me so that I could get some decent footage and taking the hits. So and El Maris, sorry man, I didn't mean to box you out like that. But at this point, I mean, you can see we've got a sizable lead, and I've got all my health and 3 heals still, so I'm pushing. I want to get aggressive. I want to get away from that destroyer that was behind me. I'm going to let the guys that are clumped up back there deal with him, and I'm going to push forward and try to take that Montana out and get in range of the carrier, because it's just, there went the Montana. That and the carrier and 2 destroyers, and I'm really not in the mood to go hunting destroyers in a Kremlin when I've got other teammates around who are better suited for that. So a little bit longer range shot on the midway. I can't really tell if he's sitting still or not, but you know, carriers are always going to take damage. That's what they do. But that salvo wasn't too bad, even without precise aim. I was happy with the number of hits. I hate those bow-on shots like that. And as I was thinking, I hate those shots. Midway very, very politely comes towards me and turns in, giving me a nice broadside where I hit 8 pens and a Citadel. So I'll definitely take that. And he's going to get taken out before I quite get into secondary range. So this is the last one I've got to show you guys. And so Arsonist and I are pushing on C here, and we know there's that Z, and I know there's a Minotaur behind that island, but the Z is definitely the bigger threat right now because it's one of the few destroyers that really could be trouble for Arsonist and his daring. So I want to do everything I can to help him out. Secondaries, you can see, are working him over pretty good. Wish there were some autos to be helping out, but, you know, I'll take what I can get. So, unfortunately, that main battery salvo I fired at him, only 2 landed, but if you go back and look, one of them was actually a full pen. It's a little over 2,000 damage, which was pretty nice. Can't get a clear shot at the Montana, but that Venezia is backing out. So, again, this was a chance to take a long-distance shot just to see, pop the precise aim first. And not real happy with that result, if we're being honest. So, Now again, this engagement here is not something to be super excited about because of the Kremlin, because it's a Minotaur. Pretty much any of the tier 10 battleships can do this, but I'm sorry, that just makes me smile. So now that we've got this side of the map pretty much clear, we've got a narrow points lead, and this is the hard part with coming up the flank like that, but based on where I spawned and what boats I saw, the red team and where they were sending them, it was where I felt I was going to be able to get the shots on target and take the least number in return. That was bad. That was really bad. I don't know if the Montana stopped after, as I was firing or what, but some people feel that with that reload time that it's a little on the long side, and it is, but the only time I ever really felt like it was long was a situation like that where you fire all 9 barrels and don't hit squat, and you got a long time then to think about your life choices while you're waiting for the guns to get reloaded. Precise aim activated. So at this point, I don't think I'm fast enough to try to go help defend B. So I'm looking at this as my best opportunity to help the team is to put as much fire on that IO as possible. And I'm heading a little too far back for my liking, but I'm trying to make sure I keep my guns on, be able to get as many guns on target as possible. So I am angled back a little bit more. That salvo was better. That was all 9. Take that every day, right? So that's about it, guys. The armor is a little squishy in my opinion. The guns don't shoot down quite as many AA guns don't shoot down quite as many planes as I would like. The dispersion is minimally acceptable. At least by my standards, so it's functional, but all in all, I think my biggest issue is the AP pen. I feel like even with APCS, I'm getting a lot more half and quarter pens than I would like to get. So last salvo of the game for me, it's going to be on this Shimakaze. Just waiting the last couple seconds for the reload to go, and as we fire that salvo, I'm going to say thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys taking the time to sit through all of that here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Good luck, be safe, and I'll see you guys out there.